Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unplugged Urban. As you saw from the intro there, we're going to be talking about solar panels this week. I'm excited.
Are we always talking about solar panels in one way, shape, or form?
Not always, but they're very cool. I mean, there's been a lot of news that's really important this week. Obviously, you probably saw that we don't know who, but somebody bombed Saudi Arabia, and so our government is very upset about that, which is kind of controversial because I wonder, are we upset about somebody bombing Saudi Arabia, or are we upset about them bombing our oil reserve?
Oh.
And it's kind of sad because it's like you get the feeling
What's our motivation
for
being upset?
Yeah, you get the feeling it's more about the oil reserve, and it's crazy to me because if we just harvested 1% of the sun's power, we'd have more energy than we knew what to do with. Mm-hmm. And so, all of our energy comes from the sun. Even fossil fuels came from the sun because those were plants and animals that were living and getting all their energy from the sun. So it's crazy to me how we so obscurely get our power and how we fight over it and stuff like that when it just comes to us free and you just put a solar panel on it, collect it. Which brings up an important thing this week that we want to let you know about. We started a blog. And I actually wrote about that very subject, about how we get our power, in our first blog. So check it out on unpluggedurban.com under blogs. We're going to be putting those out every week.
Wow, you're ambitious.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Give me at least a week's notice if you want me to write one.
I'll do them, and then every once in a while you see one from Danielle.
Ah.
Yeah.
I think Annie should write them. She's a very good writer.
Annie's an excellent writer. She could write one on spaghetti squash.
Ooh, maybe you should use her spaghetti squash essay.
So we got a blog. We have, obviously, you're watching the vlog. That's also posted on the website. And check out our Facebook page. I post a lot of stuff during the week. Like I said, it was kind of a busy week for thinking about the environment. There was the issue in Saudi Arabia. There was also this young 16-year-old, Greta Thalman.
I'm not sure her last name.
I'm messing up the last name.
Went to the UN and
let's just say her name's Greta. Went to the UN. That's impressive for a 16-year-old to be not only aware of environmental issues, but also speaking at that level to leaders of the world. Here in Portland, we had students on Friday that did a march downtown. Was it Friday or Thursday?
It's all over the globe. It was on Friday.
Yeah. Which is cool. I would have loved to see them do it Saturday, because then I know for sure it wasn't just about getting out of school. But I think most of them, it was because they're very concerned about what's happening to our environment. And, I think it's really important that everybody shares that concern. I know there's a lot of different ideas. What do we do about it? But let's at least just get all on the same page about it's an issue and we should do something about it. So, we got all that. This week, as you saw from the intro, talking about solar panels, good friend of ours, John, who watches this channel, got solar panels on his house, and he messaged me and said, hey, you want to come film it? I'm like, yeah. Yes. And here's what I love about this. We're gonna start off with talking to John. His system is very different than ours. It's an on-grid system. Ours is an off-grid system. We'll explain the different parts. Additionally, he's very concerned about buying clean energy, but he uses his energy for totally different things than we probably ever would, which is cool. It's like, I think that's what's great about being environmentally conscious, is you don't have to have your own garden and live in a tiny house.
Be minimalistic.
Yeah.
You can just be responsible for your usage.
Yeah.
And how you do that.
Exactly. Now, he has a lot of stuff I probably wouldn't want to take care of, but their family loves it, and that's cool. The issue is not what do you have, but how are you taking care of what do you have? That's really the big deal. So we're going to show you what John's doing on his house right now. So I am here with my good friend John. Now, John and his daughter Serenity, we've actually known them for a while. And John reached out to me on Facebook, I think. Yeah. And because he subscribed to our channel, and he says, hey, I'm putting in solar panels. Do you want to come film it? And I'm like, of course. But the reason I'm really excited about interviewing John today about his system, which isn't installed yet, but they're working on it, and so we're going to show you the whole finished thing. He's got an on-grid system, and we have an off-grid system. So there's some big differences, some big advantages, some disadvantages to both systems. So we're going to kind of talk through like why are you doing it, what the pros and cons are of each different type of system. Because when you're thinking about doing a solar system for your house, there's just so many options and so many things to think through. And you've been thinking through this for how long? About
over a year.
Yeah. So it's not like, and we were too. When we put ours in, Danielle and I talked about it for about a year before we really got in. Well, it was maybe about 6 months before we really got into doing something. So what was the big, let's start with this. What was the big kind of initiation? What made you think like, we should think about putting solar in?
Well, we have a lot of electrical devices here at the house. We bought in October of 2017, and it came with an above ground pool and a sauna, some water features, and a lot of electrical appliances. In fact, we have a full kitchen downstairs and upstairs because my mother-in-law lives downstairs. And so when we started getting the electric bills, we were like, wow, we really want to do something to help offset this cost. Not to mention we like to be green and responsible with our resources. So we started looking at it. We found out that our roof was the perfect roof. Faces south.
Faces south.
And it has a real good exposure. We didn't have a lot of trees overshadowing, and in fact, we did have a couple, but our neighbor was receptive, and he took them all out.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
so now we don't have any trees at all coming on the corner. So we really thought, we like the toys, we like the house, and so we just need to be responsible and offset as much as we can.
This is a good sized house. What's the square footage of your house?
This is just under 2,000.
Yeah, so it's right around 2,000 square feet. And so what was your, do you mind if I ask what your power bill was before? Like how much are you guys offsetting?
So the power bill averages about $200 a month.
Okay. Now, this is really important to understand. Some people might be thinking, well, that's not too bad, $200 a month, but you guys are on gas heating.
Yes.
So this has no heating. Well. This is not heating your house. Gas appliances, right?
Yes, we do have gas appliances.
Yeah. So the $200 a month is really for a lot of the things that they really enjoy most about their house. So it's something to think about too. Solar doesn't have to just be for the sake of like completely cutting everything out. You can live very comfortably, have a lot of really fun things like hot tub. Danielle and I have talked about getting a hot tub someday. We'd love to do that in our backyard. Pool, fantastic. You guys have a sauna too.
Yeah.
So they have that would be cool. I would love that. So this is a great way, you can think about it and say, well, I like all of these amenities I have and I don't necessarily want to get rid of them. No problem. You can get solar panels. So tell us about the system you bought or that you're purchasing. How many panels? How much wattage?
Yeah, so they're right outside. Come on.
Yeah,
come on
let's take a look.
So we've got 33 LG 340.
LG is the manufacturer. 340 is the total wattage. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And so with 33 of them, you're getting a little over 11.
33 times 340 is 11,220 watts.
That's a lot of wattage. Now, okay, so here's the big question a lot of people ask. What do you mean on-grid? What do you mean off-grid? So one of the benefits of your system is you have no batteries. You're not storing any of the batteries.
None.
Where does the electricity go?
Sure. Well, let's show you right here. So this is not yet hooked up yet, but eventually we're going to have the solar coming in over here. It's going to go into the combiner box right here. What the combiner box does is it will take the electric, and it's also coming off the roof, solar panels off the roof.
Right.
And it does the production monitoring inside here.
Right.
And
so now you're going to have an app that tells you exactly what you're getting from the panels. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're going to be using the end phase. So there's different types, and I debated whether to go with the end phase or solar edge. Or
we're looking at that one too.
Yeah, and so I was really going back and forth, and I got quotes multiple quotes from multiple people on both of them.
Right.
At the same time, trying to decide, do I want DC and then one inverter?
Right.
Converting all of it, or do I want AC on the roof and then combine them all down and bring it down?
So you have AC on the roof, correct?
I have AC.
Right.
So each one of the solar panels has a
own
module
inverter.
underneath, and it converts it to the AC on the roof and brings it on down.
So this is a really important point to note, because when you're doing a off-grid system, this is not an option. So the distance from his panel to the solar panels doesn't really matter, because in a DC system you lose a ton of power by transferring that voltage. In an AC system you lose almost nothing. So putting the inverters on the panel, which a lot of the on-grid systems have them built into the panel, affords you that convenience of just running it down in a very simple way, a long distance. This could be 1,000 feet away, not a problem. So even if you didn't want to put them on his roof, if you want to put them somewhere else on his property, that's another good way to go. And then in this combiner box, they get all put together.
Correct.
Okay, and so out of here, where does it go next?
So out of here, it's going to go to the disconnect before it goes into PGE's meter.
Right.
And so
PGE is our electric service company, Portland General Electric. Okay, yeah.
Right. And so it's in here. So they haven't switched out my meter yet. I still have a smart meter, but I don't have the net metering meter, which is bidirectional.
Right.
So what will happen is that as I'm producing, then I will be drawing less from the grid,
and
so
on the solar panels,
and so that will go.
And then at nighttime, then you can pull it out,
Then then it's not producing anything, so the voltage will drop on that side, and so then I will start consuming from the grid.
So that's another really big difference in the on-grid system versus the off-grid system. On my system, the off-grid system, I have to completely disconnect all of my devices and go from my batteries or my solar panel, and then have a timer for when I'm going to charge it. So it's a little more complicated. His all happens on the meter, which is really slick. That it's just, well, we don't have enough coming from the sun, let's grab a little from the power grid. We don't have enough we have too much coming from the sun, let's push some over to the power grid.
Correct.
Yeah. So now sizing is a big deal. You were saying you have the Sense app, right?
Correct.
Which is we've talked about the Nurio, which is the one I use. It tells you how much energy you're using, what appliances you have.
Right now, just what's being used by the pool pump. The pool pump is on. I think there's some lights on in the garage, and there's also the waterfall is on, the water feature.
Right.
And so I'm consuming
about 6,000, 6,200 watts. You don't have a ton of lights on, so you could easily get to 11 from there. And not only that, but 11 is what he gets at, when you're thinking about solar sizing, like ours is 3.6 kilowatts, so it's like a third of yours. I get 36 on a perfectly cloudless day when it's not too hot and the sun is pointed right at my house right at noon. It's like the perfect. So most of the day you're not getting 11 kilowatts. You're getting something less than that. Today, I noticed before I left the house, I think we were getting about 300 watts off the house and 50 watts off the garage. Today's not a great day for solar collection, and you have some of those days.
The reason I went with the end-phase system, like I said, I really debated about whether or not to go with the Solar Edge versus the end-phase. With the panels that I got, they're 340. So they're last year's top of the line. So this year, they're not quite as expensive yet because there are more efficient modules out there for photovoltaic.
Yep.
But by going with the end-phase system, I'm kind of hedging my bet that in the future, if I do decide to replace any of my panels, I can easily just remove the 340s and add in any efficiency I want because it's all AC. Whereas with the DC
that's
system,
a big difference. I have to have all the same panels or two different networks. I have to figure out how to bridge networks where you can swap them in and out. And this is I don't know if you caught this, is a great buying tip when you're buying solar. Don't buy latest and greatest, because the ones you bought, the LGs, I looked at those when we were putting ours in, and those are the latest and greatest, and they were very expensive. they were almost $400 a panel, and you're paying probably a lot less than that per panel. So, but you looked at ones that were probably in that price range that are now like what, 400 watts?
Yeah, I did look at more efficient because I wanted our system at 11,000 or 11,000 watts is only about 85% offset at its peak. So I looked at more efficient. I wanted to try to get to 100%.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, the ones that are 450 and 495s that I looked at were crazy. They were crazy price, and I'm not rich.
You're buying solar. First of all, one thing that I think he did that was right on is get a couple quotes. Don't go with your first quote. Oh yeah, that's crazy, because I mean you'll get somebody who just like, oh, they're not going to ask for more quotes. I'll just give them my highest price and sell the most expensive stuff I have. The other thing too is, ask them, well, what's kind of the high end, or what's the mid, and what's the low, so you have an idea of where does the dollars really make the most bang for your buck. And one thing that John's got going for him is you got a ton of square footage on your roof. Yeah, because your whole half of the house is facing south, like due south, which is fantastic. So, watts per, if you have a small roof or a small space to put your panels, watts per panel might be a really big deal, whereas it's not as big deal for John. And then also thinking about, maybe I'm going to buy what I can afford now and upgrade later. Your system is going to be very easy to add to, whereas an off-grid system, you really have to install it as a unit. Upgrading it is a lot more complicated. So now you said you're going to offset approximately 85% of your bill at peak. Yes. Best case scenario. Now, good piece of advice. If you're going on grid, don't go over. Why is that? Help me understand that.
So with the net metering here in Oregon, we do not get paid for our excess. In fact, at the end of your billing year, which for Portland General Electric is with their March billing cycle, the start of the April billing cycle, all of your credits that you've accrued will evaporate. They basically go away. They go to some charitable organization to help with low-income families. So you really don't want to have a whole lot of credits stored up at the beginning of spring.
Right.
One of the benefits, we're very fortunate that we are on the same circuit as the hospital. Mount Hood Hospital is not too far away. We have never lost power here. Not that it could never happen, but we've never lost power. But one of the things that you mentioned is that your house doesn't go off when the power goes off.
Exactly,
because you have the batteries. So we don't have a battery in the system. But I was contemplating having batteries in the future.
As a backup,
but because I'm going with the 8 end-phase system, it gets more complicated than what you have, because I have AC coming down off the roof. So now I have to have either
another inverter
with batteries, the AC to DC,
and a charge system,
or go with they are producing new AC batteries systems. But those are fairly new and expensive. So either way I go, it can get very expensive and complicated with an AC system. But
that's a consideration. One thing I noticed too is I don't see any electric poles out here, which means your power is underground. Yeah, ours is not. That's why our neighborhood loses power frequently. Like we're saying, there's a lot of elements when you're evaluating a system that will make the decision of which direction I go, on grid or off grid. Now, let me ask you a couple more questions about that. Payoff. What do you estimate the time to pay off your system is going to be?
Well,
approximately.
I did a couple estimates on that because we are planning on reducing our consumption. Right now, our consumption is fairly high. And consumption is going to affect our payoff period because as we use less, then we. But we're hoping that we'll pay off the purchase of the panels in between 12 and 15 years. That's what we're projecting.
Nice. And that's actually very normal, by the way, for an on-grid system. The benefit, though, is this system is upgradable. You can add more to it. Those panels are good for at least 25 years, correct? Yeah. So you have a 25-year warranty, like, unless, a plane drops something on your house, which I guess your homeowner's insurance cover, they're going to replace those. So, and if I remember correctly, when I was investigating it, the two companies I contacted, they showed me an app, and they're like, if the percentage of your production drops, if you're not producing what you're supposed to, LG has to replace these panels. So you have your own meter through the Unsense that will tell you what you're getting and whether or not they're performing properly, right?
Correct. Yeah. And even some solar installers give a performance guarantee, and they will pay off if it doesn't produce what they projected it will produce.
So this is a huge consideration, on-grid versus off-grid. For our system, we're hoping to be done in 2.5 years. We're on track. So it is a big difference in cost. Now, here's another big difference though. If you watched our video on how to top 10 ways to save energy, solar panel is not high on the list for us. I would bet that that's not true for John, because here's the thing. One of the biggest downsides we had to solar panels in an on-grid, off-grid system was the installation. It's much more complicated, much more time-consuming. How hard is the installation for you?
None.
Yeah. You can get, there's anywhere you're at, there are tons of people that do on-grid installations. There are very few companies, if any, that will do off-grid installations. How much work did you have into it?
So far, I've done nothing.
Other than
I covered when it started to rain. Yeah, when it started to rain, I covered the panels.
You covered the panels. Good job. Well, John, thank you so much for letting us come tour your system. We're going to show you guys what it looks like finished. Not today, of course, because it's pouring rain. But suppose they're going to be out here tomorrow to finish it, right?
That's what they said.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
We'll see if the workmen agree.
We'll be out here to film when it's done, and we'll kind of give you a video preview of that. But anyway, thanks so much, John. Really appreciate it, and it's really cool getting to learn about your system.
Cool.
All right, so you kind of see where John's going with his solar install, and we're going to show you how it turned out, because that happens later this week. But in between, when I went out there and interviewed him, and we got it finished, we had a very busy weekend.
Yep.
Annie and I went to Corvallis.
For a racquetball tournament.
And
Ben and I stayed home. I had a breakfast to cater at our church for women's ministry leaders. Ben helped me a little bit. He was mostly recovering from a week of sleeping in the mud in the rain in tents with his school for the week.
They had like an outdoor school all week.
Yes.
Literally an outdoor school, like in tents.
Outdoor dry camping and freezing cold. His stuff came home sopping wet and muddy. And they made memories, but he literally slept all weekend.
Yeah, the whole... It's one of those ones that, like, 20 years from now, if he meets a classmate, he'd be like, remember that time? And they'll laugh about it, but right now...
They're not laughing quite yet.
Nobody's laughing about it.
And I'm still taking naps.
Yes, he's still tired.
I had to drag him out of bed this morning. It was just to get to school. It was. I'm sure the rest of the students were like that too.
Yes.
But here's the cool thing. My trip down to Corvallis is a little bit of a drive, especially in an EV where the range is much less than the distance to Corvallis. So I'm going to show you how I got down there. It's a little bit of a road trip video. We'll probably do a much bigger road trip video a little later on. It's funner when it's not just me. It's not a word. It's more fun when she's with me, because I'm like doing all the math and she's just like, I hope we don't end up on a boat, because that has happened.
That has happened where we ended up, oh my gosh. We ended up on a, what do you call it?
A ferry.
A ferry in the middle of
it was how we had
nowhere.
it was how we had to get to the charger, I think, or something.
Yes, in literally the middle of nowhere. There was no lakes around. No, we weren't on the
coast. The Willamette River.
And all of a sudden, he says, oh, there's a ferry. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
The cool thing, it was an electric ferry. How about that? So we got a little bit of road trip for you. Bunch of life hacks there. Danielle's got some life hacks for you. Cooking, right? Mm-hmm. It seemed like there was something else.
I think that was the only life hack I had.
Okay. So we're going to show you those now. It's Friday, and I am done working for the week. We got a busy weekend ahead for you, so let's get to it. I'm at my first stop, my first charging location, and it's not too far outside of Portland. It's in Tualatin. My next stop, which is about halfway between here, a little more than halfway between here and Corvallis, is in Salem. Now, according to GPS, it's 40 miles to Salem, and as you can see here, I have 44 miles of range. That's just too close. So I know I could probably make it, but I don't want to be late for the tournament. So we're stopping here and we're gonna get some more electricity. I don't need to fully charge. I'll probably just charge to 80% so I can keep going. But the nice part is that these fast chargers, which I have right here, they'll charge your car in about 20 minutes. Actually, given where I'm at, it's probably about 10 minutes to 80%. So I'm only gonna stop for about 10 minutes. So there's a couple of important factors that you want to consider when choosing a charging location along your trip if you're taking an EV trip. One is it a fast charger? That's always the most important. Two, is there another one nearby in case this one's full? But the third one, which is the most important, is how far is the nearest Starbucks? It's right there. Much better. So I got my Starbucks, walking back to my car. I'm gonna bet that in a time, and that was a short line. I was there maybe 3 minutes. Probably not even 3 minutes. It was pretty fast. Just basically enough time that there was one person in front of me, enough time to order it, get out the door. I'm gonna bet that my car is almost at 80% by the time I get back to it. And I'm walking probably 150 yards. Where we're at. Says, looks like 64 miles. I can't quite see. 64 miles, 80%. So
while Bryan is driving to Corvallis today for a racquetball tournament with Annie, Ben and I are home. He's been gone all week with his school on a very wet and muddy camp out.
Yes, very wet. It was raining almost the whole week.
He walked in the house and just about kissed the floor. He was very happy to be home. Well, this weekend I am cooking a breakfast for our women's ministry leaders at our church. So Ben just helped me bring in a whole bunch of groceries, and so I'm gonna get busy cooking, which I love to do. And I get to cook some stuff that I don't normally cook at home because we don't eat some of the stuff at home, but it is delicious nonetheless.
So the other benefit to charging stations is usually they're within range of a bathroom. I went through Wilsonville there. That took forever. The traffic, Wilsonville's weird. There's just always a lot of traffic there, not for really any reason, but it took a very long time to get through Wilsonville. It's been, let's see, it's been almost an hour to drive 20 miles. So I'm getting close to my next stop, but I gotta go. So it's a good thing we're stopping. As far as our range, right now, Sparky says I got about 30 miles of range left. I'm at a half a battery, but I'm also driving not very conservatively. I'm driving 70 miles an hour, 72, and so it's not very efficient. So if I was driving at 55, I'd probably have a lot more miles left. If you have fast chargers, they'll make up the difference in speed of charging versus, just getting to the next location a little faster. So anyway, we are getting pretty close, just outside of Salem. It looks like we're starting to hit Salem traffic here, so slowing down again. Now it says before it said I had 30 miles, I got 32 miles, and my max just kicked way up. It says I could go as far as 41 miles if I'm going at this rate of 30 miles an hour. So definitely got plenty of range, no problem there. No range anxiety whatsoever. So we've made it to our second destination with 35 miles to spare. We are in Salem, Oregon, the capital of our great state. But more importantly, where we'll find this fast charger and a bathroom. I gotta go. That's better. Well, thank you, Holiday Inn, for your clean bathrooms, and fast charger. One of the other things that is nice about these charging stops, good place to get something to eat too. I don't like to drive. Danielle's very different than me. I do not like to drive long distances, and she'll tell you, like, I will probably fall asleep if I drive for more than an hour. So getting a stop and get something to eat. What time is it? So this is going to be done charging in 12 minutes. So, and I probably could unplug sooner than that because Corvallis is even closer. I think it's only about 35 miles from here, so it should be pretty quick. Anyway, so I'm going to get something to eat. We'll get back on the road. So I made it to the club with 25 miles to spare, which was the lowest I got. So no range stress for me today. And as you can see here, there is a blink charger at this beautiful establishment. This is Timber Hills Athletic Club, right next to front door. So good parking spot. Let's go play some racquetball.
All right, up bright and early this morning. At least I was. Ben slept on the couch last night, and he and Minnie snuggled up there since Annie's out of town. So I woke him up right before I left. Told him he had to be at the church in about an hour to help. He's been camping all week, so he's pretty exhausted. He even turned the TV off earlier than I told him to. I just had to run to the grocery store, and now we're heading to church to start cooking. Just hoping that all the ovens work properly. All right, so I asked Ben to bring the eggs for me. He's very resourceful. Got him strapped to the back of your bike, and you didn't hit any potholes. Or
I hit potholes, but I was very slow on them.
For all the ladies yesterday, the egg dishes that we had left over were delicious but have meat in them, and I realized that this morning, that I've got all these leftovers and the kids will only eat so much. So I decided to make my non-meat eating man some vegetarian egg cups. They are not vegan, but they are vegetarian, and with lots of veggies in them. They've got spinach and peppers and onions and potatoes in the bottom. So it's a good day today. It's kind of dreary outside, so it's a good day for cooking. And I made some coconut rice for the week, and I have a peach cobbler, or actually it's a peach crisp, in the oven. That'll be a great treat for everybody. And I made some roasted garlic hummus, and Ben is sticking his tongue out disgusted. This isn't for you, this is for Dad.
I know, but it's still, ugh.
Not your favorite, I know. And some hot pepper hummus also. For you, Ben, I heated up some rice we had in the freezer so you can have your leftover sweet and sour chicken later today. I'm also gonna make some falafels for Bryan to go along with the hummus. I was gonna go to the grocery store because I got inspired to make some things today. I got to the grocery store and it was pouring rain, and I decided I'm just gonna be inspired by whatever we might have in the house, because I didn't want to get out and deal with groceries in the rain. So we've got some cornbread mix here and some more chickpeas. I'm gonna make some curry for Bryan with that. And we've got some, I pulled these out from the freezer. It's a good leftover day. I have some meat chili and some veggie soup. so everybody's taste should be covered tonight. Oh, and for Ben, who's kind of going, well, wait a minute, what's for me? I have some leftover enchiladas. So see, something for everyone. I guess you could say this is a life hack. I've got this delicious looking peach crisp in here. And some of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, fresh peach crisp. No, it's not fresh. That's where I draw the line these days. I'm working full time. I want a peach crisp. I get canned peaches, but I make sure they're the kind that are in fruit juice, that aren't sugared more. So might be a little cutting a corner, but at the same time, it's a decent dessert for my family. I make it sugar-free, so I make it with monk fruit sweetener. And I guess the life hack in that would be that decide what your time is worth, and my time is not worth peeling and cutting and coring a whole ton of peaches. More power to those of you that choose to do that.
Well, it was a busy week. We did a whole bunch of different things, and we're all pretty tired. In fact, Danielle has already gone to bed. I'm just finishing editing the episode and want to close it out and say goodbye to you guys. But before I do, I want to let you know that John was able to get his power switched over. He is now producing electricity from the sun, sending it to the grid. So that is very cool. And I just say a big thanks to John for letting us film his place. That was really neat to get all the ins and outs of an on-grid system. Hopefully you learned a lot from our road trip, doing some cooking, and seeing on-grid versus off-grid solar systems. If you like this episode, make sure to hit that like button. If you want to see more Unplugged Urban, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications every time there's a new video. We're getting them out every Wednesday. Check out our blog, like us on Facebook. But for right now, I'm going to say goodnight. We'll see you next week.